Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Talkin Movies. I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we got a bit of a comedy double feature for you. In the case of one of the movies, I have to say comedy, but hey, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get started right meow. First movie I want to talk about is Amy Schumer's I Feel Pretty. A woman struggling with insecurity wakes up from a fall believing she is the most beautiful and capable woman on the planet. Her new confidence empowers her to live fearlessly, but what happens when she lets that fear and confidence go to her head? I have to put a bit of a disclaimer up first. I have to give my thoughts on Amy Schumer. Not really a big fan of her stand-up. So she, I have a little bit of a Amy Schumer bias, I guess you can say, when it comes to that. And plus, there's all the things coming out and evidence and everything of her possible joke theft. So I really don't have a ton of respect for Amy Schumer. But I just wanted to be transparent about what I think of her career. I can be unbiased when it comes to this movie, to any movie, no matter who's in it, but her comedy does factor into how I feel about this movie, so I just wanted to get that out there first. And I do want to warn you guys, there's probably going to be some spoilers in this review anyway. I'm going to save you guys a little time. This movie takes about 2 hours to tell you to just be you. Just, be yourself. And while they do tell you that in a boring and unfunny fashion, you just got to be you. And also to achieve that, just get yourself some massive head trauma and possibly a concussion to get there. The journey to, quote, just be you doesn't make a whole lot of sense in this movie. Schumer's character, after this, she, you can tell she's this not very confident character and she's afraid of everything. And, but then she, goes to like a biking class, falls off the bike. You've seen it in the trailer, and she hits her head. And then all of a sudden she becomes, this, really confident person, like no fear. And here's the thing though, Schumer's character spends most of the movie as this confident character, but to the point of obnoxiousness. So she plays this confident but obnoxious woman with no fear who thinks that she is the most beautiful woman in the world on the outside. There's times that they try to do it to where you're supposed to feel, well, she has this confidence just on the inside, but that's just it. This confidence comes from what she sees in the mirror, and all of a sudden she thinks, she's, something she's not, which is, her character. So here's the thing. Most of the time in this movie, her character is extremely unlikable. There's times where the movie wants you to know she's unlikable, because she has lessons to learn, but then there's times where the movie wants you to see like the real her, even though she's this confident character. The real her pops out even though she doesn't know it. But there's times where she's unlikable too. So, and this kind of plays into the end, but you've seen the trailer, you know what's coming. When she learns her lesson, it's far from earned, way far from earned. The ending, well, it does have a nice message, and I give the movie credit for that. Because granted, I knew it was going to go there, but it doesn't feel earned. It feels like tacked on. Because just the whole journey of the movie, it's like, she is this, her confidence is also, like I said, obnoxious and selfish, but then again, there's times where it's not, but even those times kind of feel obnoxious and selfish. So yeah, everything that it leads up to, while it's a fine ending, would have worked with a better story in front of it. like a way better story. Also, I want to talk about the love story in this movie. It doesn't make any sense. It really makes no sense. The boyfriend, which I gotta say, even in the trailer, I liked. It's the dry cleaning scene from the trailer where, the guy asks her what's her number, and he's talking about, like the ticket for dry cleaning, and she's like, "Oh, that's clever. You want my number?" I give the movie credit. That I like that scene. But and that is how they meet in the movie. I mean, it's the same, pretty much. But see, the boyfriend falls in love with the overconfident and cocky version of Amy Schumer's character. I mean, yeah, in the end they want you to think, well, he loves her for her, and again, that's a fine message, and it works if they would have set it up that way. But see, he falls in love with this other version of Amy Schumer's character. He even enjoys the narcissism in the bedroom. There's a scene where they're having sex, and it's the scene in the trailer where she walks out. She's like, here's a sneak peek, and she's already naked, right? And they're having sex, and she's like looking at herself in the mirror, and he's getting turned on by that. So it's, like I said, he's in love with this character she's not, but then again, in the end, somehow he falls in love with the real her. It just did not work for me, even though I liked the setup. If they would have had a better, look, I know characters have something to learn, but she doesn't learn anything until pretty much the very end of the movie. And then, like I said, it feels forced. So, and part of that's the love story. It just did not work for me at all. And let's talk about the comedy. I'll throw up the big air quotes there. Comedy of this movie. So you might think, my Amy Schumer bias comes into play here. It does to an extent, but again, I give every actor a chance. If she was to offer something new here or something like that, I would have given her credit. And like I said, I give her credit for a few of the scenes, like the dry cleaning scene was pretty funny to me. And it's pretty early in the movie, and there wasn't much I liked about this movie. That was one scene I liked, but it led to really nowhere, to a love story that made no sense. But the comedy in this movie, it's just not funny. The movie is not funny. Again, her character being kind of obnoxious comes into play, because there's times you're supposed to like her, and you just don't. Other than a few scenes, like I said, the dry cleaning scene, for example. Even though that's really not the real her either. That's the cocky character, coming out to play. Most of the movie is what you see in the trailers. And here's a little side note. I find it funny that some critics are judging other critics for pretty much knowing that the movie wasn't going to be good, or that they weren't going to like the movie just by seeing the trailer. Like the movie was going to offer the viewer something different. Something they'd never seen before. And, the trailer offers, it shows you what you're going to get. If you like Amy Schumer and you like her comedy, you might like this movie, I guess. But really, as, an actor, or, as really even a part in a movie, she doesn't really offer anything new. And, I mean, there's nothing new to see here. This is one of those movies, and I joke about some actors like this. This is Amy Schumer as Amy Schumer and Amy Schumer the movie. And look, I gave this movie a shot. I really did. I hated the trailer, and it's like, oh look, it's another Amy Schumer movie. It's kind of how I've felt about most of Melissa McCarthy's movies, for example. Even though she surprised me a couple times, and I Love that new trailer of hers, the Can You Ever Forgive Me or Can You Forgive Me or whatever it's called. Because I want to see actors that are usually, one-note wonders try something different. And I loved Melissa McCarthy in Spy. It's because she toned down what people expected of Melissa McCarthy and shared the spotlight a little bit with a bunch of other actors, and it made for a really fun movie. But when I saw the trailer for this movie, I just knew it was going to be, well, here's Amy Schumer being Amy Schumer and Amy Schumer the movie. And sure enough, that's what it was. It's her, I'm going to be me comedy, and I know she's tried stuff different. I was hoping that movie she did with Goldie Hawn last year might have been a little different, but no, it was the same stupid comedy from her, just in a different scenario. But look, I gave this movie a shot. I did. But this movie is boring and unfunny with a tacked on positive message at the end. Unless you really love Amy Schumer, then you should definitely pass on this movie. Meow. We're going to be talking about Super Troopers 2. The return of the super cops. After a small section of Canada suddenly becomes part of the United States, the Super Troopers return to duty. Their mission is to establish a highway patrol station in the area and phase out the Mounties there. When a large stash of contraband is found in that area, it's up to the gang to figure out who's breaking the law. Look, after about 17 years and a mostly fan-funded Indiegogo campaign, Broken Lizard's cult classic cops are back in action. The review for this one is pretty easy. Did you like the first one? If you hated the first movie, this movie's not going to change your mind. Now, if you had a good time with the first movie or really liked the first movie, I had a good time with the first movie, and that made me like this one. I mean, I will say this, I didn't see it on 420, so I don't know if it would have had a different effect on me, but really I pretty much got what I expected. It's, the first movie, I liked it. I only watched it once until a few months ago when I knew the sequel was coming out, so I watched the first one a second time. This one will probably be something similar. I may be seeing it. I don't know if we'd get a third one of these. Maybe it'll be another 17 years. I don't know. But I have a feeling I probably won't watch this one more than 2 or 3 times in my lifetime. But that's what I expected. So yeah, I got what I expected out of this movie. There's some new hit or miss comedy, plus some new spins on older humor, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. I do have to say that the comedy really hasn't aged very well, but that's kind of what I was expecting. I knew it was going to be old school, kind of, get what you expect as a fan type comedy. It was going to be, like I said, plays on older jokes and new, raunchy type humor, or just silly type humor, violent type humor. I got exactly what I was expecting. From what I can tell, at least the ones that survived the first movie, all the major cast members are back in some way, shape, or form. I mean, the main cops are there most of the time. But I mean, there's some characters that are only in the movie for a little bit that were in the first movie, but they're there. So, at least they could get everybody back. And then there's some new people added. There's, some new actors playing some Canadian Mounties, and Rob Lowe's like the mayor of this Canadian town, and Linda Carter's in the movie, and there's a couple surprises at the first of the movie, which I won't spoil. And that leads me to the next point, which the movie does do a pretty funny job at getting the fans caught up on what happened between the movies. Well, I won't explain too much. The end of the first movie, they became the local cops, and this movie explains how they got from being the local cops to where they are now. And I think they did a pretty good job. It was pretty funny. It's really ridiculous, but I had a good time with the opening of the movie. Um, I will say that Farva gets a bigger role this time around. Of course, he was one of the more popular characters from the first movie, so that's not really a big surprise. In a way, it kind of reminds me of South Park, where I know the main characters were kind of supposed to be Kyle and Stan, and they still kind of are, but Cartman was so funny that they started to push him more. That's kind of what they do here. But everyone gets their fair share in this movie, but Farva really gets to shine a little bit here. When it comes to the Canadian humor, it's just very stereotype. You have, you know, they, they joke about, do you ride horses? No, we drive Crown Victorias, and they have the the Canadian voice. You know what I mean? That the accent, and they like pancakes, and they joke about their health care, and it's very stereotype. There's really no other way to say it. And really, though, I was expecting that. I don't know if I would say it's Yoga Hosers bad. It fits this movie, I guess, is what I would say, because that's what I was expecting from this movie. The whole movie itself is just silly and predictable, and again, fans will be getting exactly what they want, minus a bit of that first time with the characters magic. Don't expect to go in this and feel the same thing you felt the first time you watched the first movie. You're revisiting these characters, and they do offer you a lot of fun, but you're not going to feel the exact same way that you felt, the first time you saw the first Super Troopers, if you're like a big Super Trooper fan. I also have to say, and nobody but me in the theater did this, stay until the very end of the credits if you want to see every joke that they set up in the movie have a payoff. Because there is, right as they end the movie, there's a scene that, kind of pays off a joke that they've been alluding to the entire movie. Then there's outtakes during the credits, and then at the very end, the one question you have gets answered at the very end of the credits. But really, I mean, if you're a super fan, you would probably stay anyway, kind of expecting that. So this movie, I enjoyed it for what it was. Again, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to see it one more time this weekend, pending a change of plans. But I probably wouldn't if I wasn't gonna be helping out with somebody. So again, I probably wouldn't watch it again until, like, if I say another one was coming out. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I'm not like rushing to go see it again. Don't go see it if you didn't like the first movie expecting something different. If you really like the first movie, you're gonna go check it out, whether I say go see it or not. But I would say that the fans would probably want to go see it, right, Meow? And they'll probably enjoy it. So that's gonna be all for Talkin Movies. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm the real Geno Reynolds. Until next time, peace.